So welcome to Wine About It Wednesday. I actually do not have any wine with me tonight, so I hope you guys all can make a toast for me because I'm still at the barn, so I don't have any wine at the moment. I should have brought some sparkling water or something, but that's okay because tonight we're going to talk about being frustrated with whatever. Like sometimes it's your horse, sometimes it's yourself, sometimes it's the situation, like whatever it might be. That's normal to go through those feelings of being frustrated. So I just saw my mom get on and I was asking a whole bunch of people, I was like, what should I talk about tonight? And there, there's a lot of great ideas. And then I thought again, like, what has my week been like? What am I working through personally? And so I'm like, I was really frustrated in two separate situations, two separate horses. So I thought we would just, talk about that because this is all really real and it's all very normal, especially dealing with horses. It's not so easy to just have success, that it's just like, it's always going in the right direction all the time. You make all the perfect, answers to the questions, you make all the right decisions. And, sometimes we don't, and that's okay. Sometimes we're frustrated and we just don't know, what to do. So I took some notes and I'm going to share with those with you tonight. But first I have a couple of really exciting news and announcements. So literally we are 43 people away from 4,500 people in the membership in Teamtate TV. So we're going to give away a full year working student subscription to the 4,500th member. So make sure you tell your friends, tell your stablemates, tell your family, anyone who loves horses and wants to really be behind the scenes and follow us along our journey. We've got a couple of exciting Grand Prix horses. We've got a couple really exciting up and coming horses. We've got a bunch of young horses. I've got some wonderful ladies who ride here. We've got a barn full of awesome people at home in South Carolina. So there's always interesting things happening. And yeah, you should just tell everyone to join us here. Also they should join the Academy as well. Because that's really the place of learning and we're really proud of that and we're really excited that we've gotten such positive feedback from so many of our members. It's so exciting. And yeah, the biggest announcement I need to make is that the podcast is going to be ready. So it's called Dressage Life with Tate. And I've already heard a couple of episodes and it sounds really great. It sounds really fun and a great place to, hear me talk about things that we all deal with. Cerise has done an amazing job with It's Her Voice on it. So when you hear it, you're gonna just it's amazing. And so that's really exciting that that's coming to fruition and I appreciate everybody telling us how we should search, what the title should be. But because I talk about dressage and life lessons we learn from dressage and how we're lifers to dressage. So Dressage Life with JJ Tate. So it's going to go live on Friday and the girls will post everything you need to know about it here on Teamtate TV. So tell your friends. Tell your stablemates, tell everybody that they can connect to that as well as join Teamtate TV and maybe win a year-long subscription as a working student into the Academy. We are busy down here in Florida. Things are great. The weather is warm, which is wonderful. Poinciana is just an incredible place. We feel really blessed to have such an amazing staff here. Jane is an incredible owner. She's thought of absolutely everything. All the trainers here are super supportive. It's a wonderful place to be. But when I was thinking about what I was gonna talk about tonight, I was like, well, yesterday, I was frustrated with Apollo. I mean, I know you can hardly believe that. It would be Apollo who would cause me to my wit's end, but it's true. And today, Freddie was just too much. It's just too much. So I thought I would talk about that because I think everybody feels frustrated at some point. We either feel frustrated with the progress we are not feeling like we're making, we're frustrated with the situation, we're frustrated with ourselves. You know, there's so many places to be frustrated. And I wanted to give you guys a little pep talk about it's normal, and we're going to talk about how to work through it. So what I was feeling frustrated about with Apollo is that he is the most incredible, amazing, talented horse I have ever had the opportunity to own and train. He's incredible. He is highly difficult, highly emotional, complicated in his body, and like his personality is totally awesome, but he almost tries too hard. Like he's a little bit falling over himself in his intense way to do what I'm asking. And I just can't, I am unable to at this time talk him into doing much less. He is like on full turbo boost all the time, like with 3 engines. And I'm always like, I only need like 1. I only need actually 1 horsepower, and you're acting like 11, and we need to just bring it down to like 1. And so I've never really had a horse that I need to constantly talk into giving me less, but he feels like he's just got like Tourette's about it. It's always like, and I feel like I'm a pretty smooth rider, and I feel like one of my strengths as a trainer is suppleness and throughness and mutual understanding and a lot of harmony. Like that's my jam. And Apollo is just like everywhere. He's like this pinball machine of like pew, 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 pew. Like he's just like all over the place. Just the most amazing, powerful, incredible, all over the place kind of guy. So I feel like he's just got this Tourette's where it's like too much, too little, more, less, you know. And we just like, I always am complaining, and Ashley was like, yeah, I what we all wish we could complain about right there is those hind legs, you know. And so again, getting into more what we're talking about, you do need to keep that in perspective. But it's just like, there's just so much going on with him, and just to be normal is really hard for him. So, and it's interesting because everyone always talks about how their like top horses were really difficult. And in my mind, I thought like, is that explosive, or like, were they, you know, domineering personalities? Like, were they rearing, like difficult, explosive, you know, like difficult had a different idea for me. And like Apollo is one of my absolute safest, wonderful, that horse like loves me. I mean, he's amazing, but he is really difficult. And so I, on Saturday, was up like, I just, whew, I was in a rough place. And I'm like, I sent an SOS to Allie, my coach, Allie Brock, my coach. I sent an SOS to my vet, Dr. Timober. I sent an SOS to Stephen Peters because I'm like, somebody's got to come help me with this thing. Like, I am sucking, and I'm just not doing a good enough job for this horse. And I am totally fine if I need to change everything the way I'm doing it, but I needed to call for some backup. So of course, so Saturday ended up, I was just like hand galloped him around forward because he wasn't going forward and he's pulling on the contact. And I was like, most times canter just fixes this. So I put him in a big canter and let him just tool around. And then that made him happy and that was fine. And I just called it a day. I was like, we just need to live to fight another day. So Sunday morning rolls around and Allie is there sitting in the chair. I ride Apollo first at 8. The minute I pick up a trot, he's already better. And I was like, is this because she's sitting in this chair and she's here to be like, help me not get crazy? Or did the galloping really help? I'm not sure. This is what this week has been about, figuring out those answers. But yeah, she came, she helped. My vet is going to come on Friday. We're gonna check out his back. Stefan said he'd come next week. So we're calling all help. But it's important too, like when we talk about how do I start? Like, I'm just frustrated and I don't know what to do and I'm losing my patience and I just, don't know what to do with myself. I want you all to think about is number one, step one, keep everything in perspective. So we see this top of this mountain and we are climbing up to the top of the mountain, which is the Grand Prix. And I will say once you get up there, it kind of like plateaus out and you thought it would be like the peak of a mountain. You're like, oh my God, I made it to the Grand Prix. And then you realize like the top of the mountain is actually like this flat, long plateau of like, wow, there's still so much left to learn. But we all climb up the mountain. I am at various stages up this Grand Prix mountain on all bunch of different horses. We've got Isaac, who's like 4th level. We got Freddie, who's in the prairie on the bottom of the mountain. We haven't even gotten up like into the foothills, I'm not sure. But Apollo is like, we're almost, I can like see the top, which is like, oh my God, we're like right there. I just need you to be able to just trot in one tempo on the bit. Like literally, that's what we work on. And I feel like we climb up and we slide back down and we climb up and we slide back down. And it makes like sometimes there's like a landfall and we're just like woof, down to the bottom and we start climbing up again. But the thing is, sometimes it's really important to stop and be aware and conscious of where you are and look back to where you began. Apollo is making giant progress, and he's so much better than he was a year ago, and he's so much better than he was 3 years ago. Like when he was a young horse, I would just skip over trot because it was just terrible. And I'm like, if I can just get to canter, he loves cantering, his back relaxes in the canter, he accepts my aids better in the canter, so I'm just gonna canter. So maybe that didn't set me up for great success now, but his back developed in a good way by doing that cantering. But it's important to really stop and see where you are in relationship to the rest of it. Like whenever we're half passing, I'll always tell my students, now you must look up and pay attention to where you are in reference to the rest of the arena. And that's like for life. Look up and see where you are in relationship to the rest of the world, to the relationship of your goal. Like, we are much closer and things are much better, even though they're not where I want them to be yet. So I think that's important. Like, while we climb up that mountain of Grand Prix, it's important to see how far you've already come. Because when we're in the thick of it, when we were in the middle of it, and like everything is like this whirlwind of like, Andy's not cantering on the bit, Andy spooks in that corner all the time, you know, it's hard to see the progress. So I always make a conscious effort to stop and pay attention and see how far you've actually come, because then not all hope is lost. It's so easy. Of course, most of us are A-type personalities, so we're perfectionists and it's not happening. And I'm like totally impatient. So I know you guys all say I'm really patient because you guys know me as a teacher. And it's something I have really had to work on in my own self with my horses. And it very rarely comes out that I'm like not patient and that like I don't wait for the horse to come to the place I want it to come. I go get it, you know. But I am a go-getter, like that's who I am. But I've really trained myself to be extremely patient with my horses and give them the time to develop. But there's these moments of frustration that I'm like, this should be happening faster, this should be easier, and I just get all spazzed out. So again, it's important to keep things in perspective. Another thing that I love, Brene Brown, I love her. I want to meet her one day, maybe interview her on my podcast. Dressage Life by Tate. Because something that she always says too, and like I have said this for years too, that this too shall pass. And this is not permanent. What is happening at this exact moment will not last forever. So be grateful that the bad thing will pass, but also, you know, when things are going really well, it's important to stop and really let that sink in too. So many times it's so easy for us to just be, you know, so upset or, you know, that things aren't working fast enough. And it's easy to be, you know, frustrated and, you know, skip over the positive things, you know, like, oh, that's how it should be going, or that's what should be happening, or, you know, we just don't give quite as much weight to the good things. That's like a good score, right? Like you get a good score, maybe you get like 9 good scores, and then all of a sudden you get 1 like not great score. You will obsess about that 1 not great score, even though there were 9 others that were quite good, you know, but because we're seeking, you know, to be excellent, then we obsess about what's not great. But it's also important to take time and celebrate when things are going well. When your horse is healthy, when your saddle fits, when you feel like you're riding well, when something happened and you made the right decision. Like really celebrate that those moments that you did a good job and the horse did a good job and there was success there. It's so easy to just focus on when it's not going great, but that will also pass. That difficult time, it will change. And it's important to just constantly remember that at any minute things could change. So that goes on to the next thing of find a good counsel. This could also be counselor, like, you know, a therapist or someone to talk to. That's great too. For me, I have a really supportive village that always lends me their ear to just talk things out. So Allie is always available as my coach, and I feel like I really strive to be that for all of my students and my trainers in the academy. I've got students all over the country that text me about the vet visiting or whatever. So we all need good counsel. And so I think it's really important we surround ourselves with a supportive group of people that we can bounce ideas off of. So Allie really helps me, and she's always available. Ashley Perkins, who is my right-hand girl, she's kind of like more than just my right hand. She's like my whole right side. And I can always ask her about to come watch the horse. You know, she's sort of my in-between help when Allie is not available every day. And I've always had lessons, and then I work on my own, because that's just always what my pattern has been. When I was in Europe, of course, I got lessons every day. But then I went home and wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. So for me, lessons and then making it my own are really important. So Ashley can really be there for me when I need someone to bounce ideas off. Richard's also been a wonderful support system for me too, because he's a horseman as well. And I have been a little frustrated with Freddie because Freddie's not up on the mountain yet. We're still in the prairie down below. And he's extremely overwhelmed by this amazing, wonderful barn we're at, but it's very busy, and there's cows and an exotic animal farm on one side by the lunging pit, and then the round pens. And then on the other side of the property is anything between screaming children and wild ponies, a foal and her mama. Like, it's just kind of exciting on like both sides of the property. And so then mix in a little bit horses running in turnout, heaven forbid a white bird fly by, but he's just like overwhelmed. And so today I was frustrated that it was taking so long, that he was not settling in yet. And Richard had to help me keep things in perspective and know that this is also not permanent. So it's always important to have a really supportive village around you. So another thing I think is really important too, when you're working on, okay, I feel this way, I have good counsel, I recognize this won't last forever, how do I start to make changes? Sometimes we get so frustrated, we just want to change all the things all at one time. And that is not the best idea. So we always make a rule of always change one thing at a time, because otherwise you won't know what made the biggest difference. You know, maybe ulcer guard is a good idea. Maybe an ear bonnet is going to be a good idea. You don't know till you give it a go, and then it's either yay or nay. But if you just keep, you know, what is the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing expecting different results. So I think that really goes for being frustrated with horses. Really attempt to do things a little bit differently. Change the equipment, change the time of day you're going to ride them, change your approach. Whatever you decide, that you can make a list, honestly, and then start to like check them off the box. I think it's important because we as in me, we get a little bit like, I need to just change this whole thing. None of this is working. And it's like, okay, calm down. And then I really hate it when they give me my own advice of, you know, it's going to take some time, and let's change this one thing first. The next part, kind of the second phase of the change one thing at a time, is to write it down and document it. The Equestrian Journal is a great place to do that. And our own Catherine Respis has thought of everything for you to help you write memos down. She's got a little thing you can like show on a little horse body where the horse might be sore. It's really great. And for those of you that like aren't great at journaling, it is a great like, here, let's help you get, be able to do this in an easier way, understandable way. And each horse can have their own booklet, so that's great. But it's important to, if you've got a really complicated case and you're going to be changing a lot of things slowly and over time, it's hard to remember exactly, he was so good Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What had I done like Wednesday, Thursday before that? Maybe it was he had 2 days off, but it's hard to remember all those things. So we always want to write that down and document it so you can recreate your success. And the last part of this is, of course, don't give up. Think outside the box. We always talk about searching for the answer, and I always think of Finding Nemo, of like, just keep swimming. And so many times I'm like, just keep trotting, like whatever that is, it's like, just keep going, adjust, and keep moving forward no matter what. You will find the way. And sometimes the way isn't quite clear, but it will soon be shown to you. So we also have to stay open to those moments of, what am I supposed to be learning from this? And where is the answer? And if the answer is not clear yet, it will soon show itself. And so we also have to be aware and ready to find those answers as well. So in a quick review, I think you could write down on your bullet points. I think it's important to keep everything in perspective. Know that this too shall pass. This is not permanent. It's okay to be frustrated, right? I mean, we've all been there. Every single rider, trainer I know has been extremely frustrated, And that's why it's also important to build a great supportive village that you can chew on these ideas with and get some good advice. And, even if it's just sometimes you're like, I didn't think of it that way. Even sometimes the most obvious thing, because when we're in the middle of it, we sometimes can't see it as clearly as someone with an outside perspective. So that's also important. Always, always make only one change at a time. Write it down and document it so it's repeatable. Keep adjusting and moving forward. We've talked a lot about goals in the last couple of weeks. And that's the thing, and it's never like a hard goal, like I must achieve it or we'll die. It's like, loosen up. Like, hey, it's great to have, you've got to know where you're pointing your ship. Where are we going? It's important to know that. But then it's also, you're going to go through turbulent seas and you're going to go through a calm time. And then you may get a little bit blown off the direction where you thought you were going isn't actually what is the best thing to be doing for that horse or for you. So then you've got to be open to knowing that it's okay to reframe those goals. And sometimes it takes longer than you think it might, and that's okay too. I also laughed because we talk about this so often with our horses, and I'm going to leave you with this idea and this thought of, just like when we ride our own horses, we reward the progress and not the perfection. And so we have to also allow ourselves to let that go for us as well. As we make, progress towards where we want to be going, it's also important to not get so caught up into the, I'm not there yet. I wanted to be there and it's just a little bit out of my reach, or it's a little slippery. I can't quite get there. And so it's important to keep that in perspective, that getting even 1 inch closer is 1 inch closer than you were yesterday. So keep your eye on the prize and trust yourself, listen to your horse, and keep it all in perspective. And always remember, this too shall pass. So I hope you guys found that helpful, and I will see you guys soon. I think on Friday, I will go live to kind of kick off the podcast, so I can't wait to see you guys here. I will also be doing more interviews with the horses, so you guys can get to know all of them. We do have a new one, which is really exciting, and I will share more about that as we get further into probably February, but we're really excited about a new adventure we are so excited to be on. And I will see you guys soon, and make it a great night. All right, thanks for joining. Bye.